So hi everyone, welcome to the JavaScript interview preparation course chapter 3, and today we are going to learn about some more important topics such as function declarations, function expressions, first class functions, IFE, function hoisting, then params versus arguments, and at last we are going to see about spread versus rest operators. So first of all, I have opened my index.html page with live server, and this is our interface on the right of the window. So let's see what function declaration means. So basically function declarations are the definition of the functions. Let's say if you are uh, writing function as function my function, and if you are taking some parameters as num, and let's say you are returning something as num cross num, right? Now if you call this function my function with some arguments, let's say 5, so it's going to, I'm sorry, uh, we don't need to return anything. We should actually print it out. So what you can see here, we are getting 25. So this syntax is basically called as function declaration. You are declaring a function with some name and parameters, and you are calling here. So this was nothing, but now let's see what are function expressions. So function expressions are simply, but when you store a function inside a variable, then it's called a function expression. So what we here did, that we simply declared a function with its name. But if you, let's first comment this out. Okay, first copy this, then comment this out. Now in function expression, if you store this function in any variable, let's say const result. Now what you have done is you have stored this function, but you don't need to give name of this function here. You can simply call this function as result 5 5. So here you are seeing that we are again getting the result as 25. So function expression and function declarations are simply the way you write the function in JavaScript. So here you give the simple name of the function, and here you didn't provided any name, but stored the return value of the function inside another variable name. That's it's called function expression. So let me mark it as done. Okay. So now here comes the concept of first class functions. So first class functions are the functions that can be treated as values. This means that they can be assigned to variables, passed as argument to another function, and returned from the function. For example, let's say I have taken a function square here. So this is a function what we have seen in function declaration. Simply we have declared a function, right? Now if you are declaring another function, and inside that function you are taking a function as an argument here, or say parameter here. Let's say, let me clear this out first. Let's say you declare a function named function square, but take it as num, and it returns num cross num, right? Again, if you declare a function, let's say call it as print, and it take parameter as a function itself, and what it does is it simply console the result of the function argument that we have taken. So let's take the square is square is square is function 5. Right now when you call this function print, uh, when you call this function print by providing, let me, so what you can see here is that we are getting actually 25. What we have done here is that, so first of all, let's see, we have seen that what is first class function. First class functions are that functions which can be treated as values or can be passed as parameter to inside another functions. So this is a function square, and we have passed this function as an argument here, and here we have taken it as parameter, and here we are simply calling it. So basically first class functions are the functions which can be treated as a value or can be passed as an argument or parameter inside another function. So this was all about first class function. So let me comment this out. mark it as done. So now the next topic comes here is IFI. So IFI are basically stands for immediately invoked function expression. So what does it mean? That when you declare a function here, let's say square, again it takes nums as an input, and let's say it's print the value as num cross num, right? So here you are simply declared a function, but when you try to invoke this function right here only, then it is called as immediately invoked function. If you are calling this is the way you are getting 25 here. So what you have done is you have declared a function, and you have encapsulated it inside this bracket, and in the same way you have called this function here only with an argument as 5. So this is called immediately invoked function expression, which are invoked at the same place. So you must be thinking about what is the significance of this concept called IFI. So the first significance is that we can use it to create private scopes. You can see here this is a private scope, and also it can be used for encapsulation. That is, if you want to run a code in an isolation, here this code is running completely in isolation. So you can use IFI. Also, you can use IFI when you are trying to avoid global pollution. Let's say you must have called this function somewhere here only, right? Somewhere here. So this is something that is polluting the global environment. So to prevent this, you call the function here only. So this is the concept of IFI. So let me mark it as done here. So these are the important concepts that can be asked in interview. So you must be thinking that these are the silly things we don't need to remember, but these are the important things that you should remember before going to in any interview of JavaScript. So for example, here you can see that, let's take an example. Here is a function, and inside that function it's returning another function that is immediately invoked function. Here you can see that. So let me ask the question that what will be the value of this x. So here you can see that the value of x is 1. So this function is returning 1 because since x is not in this scope of this inside function, so it will search for x in the scope of its outer function. So here it will find x, and here it is printing x. So this was an amazing example of IFI. Now in the next topic on here is function hoisting. So in the previous lectures we have seen that what hosting is and how does it work. So I have told you that hosting is basically the hosting basically means the movement of your variables and function declarations at the top of your code. That's JavaScript functionality. So let me recall this again as, let declare a var a is equal to 8, right? Now if you want to access this variable named a before its declaration, so you will get as undefined value but not any error. This is happening because JavaScript is hosting this var at the top of your code. So in this way, this the JavaScript read your code, right? This hosted the variable a at the top of your code. That's why you are not getting any error while accessing this value before its declaration. Now hosting works differently for functions also. So let's take an example. So here I have declared a function named as, okay, let me comment this out first, named as my function. Now if you try to print the value of this function after its declaration, obviously you are going to see its value, right? So let me call this function, not printed, my function. So here you call your function and you are getting this value. What will happen if you call this function before its declaration? So you can see that we are also again getting that the value of that function. So why this is happening? This is happening just because of hosting, function hosting. And how does it works? Let's see here. So let's go to our source part and script file, and here let's give a breakpoint, right? And let's run this again. So here you can see the global object, and let's see where our function here is. And oh, my function. So here you can see that our function is here. This function is already hosted in our global window object with complete definition. So what point I wanted to point out here is that the function declarations are completely hosted. Here you can see that in the definition of my function, the copy of a function is created here. So this is how the hosting of function works. Right now, so this was the concept of function hosting in JavaScript. So now there comes a concept called params versus arguments. So first of all, let me bring console back, comment this out. So parameters. So let's take an example. You declare a function again square, right? And you provided a num here, and basically you are printing num cross num here. And now when you call this function square with parameter 5, so I wanted to point out here is that, what I wanted to point out here is that the value what you have passed during the function call is known as argument, and the value what you have taken as an input inside the function definition, it is called as parameters. So parameters are the variables that are listed as part of a function definition. They act as a placeholder for values that will be passed to the function. So this num is acting as a placeholder for the values that will be passed inside a function, and the arguments are the actual values that are passed to the function that is invoked. So these are called arguments, and so basically 5 is called as argument, and here num is called as parameter. So this was all about parameter versus argument concept. So this is basic things that you need to remember. So then again there is a concept called spread versus rest operator. So let's say you declare a function multiply, and you are giving two parameters as num1 and num2, and basically you are printing as num1 into num1 into num2, right? Now let's basically what we used to do is, we call this function by providing two parameters as 4 comma 3. So it will basically print the value as multiplied value of 3 and 5 is 15. So what happen if you, let's say you declare a array as 6 comma 7, and you want to pass this array as argument of this function call. So how you can do it? So basically here you are taking parameter as different entities, and here it is a single entity that is called array. So what you can do is you can use spread operator here, err, and let's see here you are getting the multiplied value of 6 and 7 as 42. So what happened here is that so spread operators are used to spread out the elements of the array. Here now what does it mean that here you are calling multi by spreading this out as 6 comma 7. So this is same here. So spread operator is used to spread out the elements of the array. And again there comes another concept called rest operator. So this rest operator is basically the opposite of the spread operator. Rest operator is used to combine elements together. For example, let's say you take the parameter as a rest operator here, let's say nums, right? And so this must have, what happened here is that it must have combined the value inside a single array called 6 comma 7, right? So now you want to pass this as, so this rest operator has combined this 6 and 7 into a single entity that is called array. Now if you want to console this out as number, so what you can do is nums of 0 or nums of 1. So basically here again you are getting 42 as its value. So this was all about spread versus rest operator. Both are opposite of each other. Spread is used to spread out the elements of the array, and rest operator is used to combine the values of the into a single entity called array. Right? So now let's say you are providing multiple values here. Let's 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right? Now if you pass this let's say here you take as the argument, then you use rest operator as numbers, and again you are taking x comma y here, right? So here you can see that we are getting an syntax error as rest parameter must be last formal parameter. Whenever you use rest operator here, so basically, so inside as a parameter, you must be using it as a last parameter of the function. So basically what you need to do is you need to provide it here as here. So what it will do is it will first take these three parameters will take the first three values of the here, and the remaining values will be taken inside this rest operator. That's why we need to use it at the last of the function parameter. So basically you need to print out x comma y comma, sorry, let's first print a, then x comma y comma, then numbers. So here you will see that we are getting 676 as a x y value, and the rest of the values, that is 8 9 10 11, are printed inside an array here. 8 9 10 11 you can see here. This is how spread and rest operators work in JavaScript. So this was all about in this video, and hope you must have learned something new in this video also. And if you want to learn the topics which are not taught in regular videos, so please follow me, and I assure you that you will definitely learn something new in each video. So thank you and have a nice day.